This video will help you pass the perfect CP. The perfect CP covers the perfect, past perfect, and future perfect, both active and passive. The trick to the CP is number one, knowing your endings. The endings for the perfect system will be the same for all verbs, all conjugations, both regular and irregular. The next one is to know your principal parts. In this CP, you'll be given one verb, and you'll be asked to give a perfect synopsis of that verb. For this one, it asks us to conjugate tereo. And so we'll start with the perfect active. I have to know that the third principal part of tereo is tereui. And so the perfect active system will use the third principal part. And the endings I, isti, it, emus, found my U there, and istis and erunt will be the same for all verbs. For the perfect active, past perfect active, I keep the third principal part and I drop the I and I add the imperfect form of sum for my ending, which is eram, eros, erat, eramus, eratus, and erant. These endings will be the same for all verbs, regardless of what it is. You just have to know the third principal part and remember to drop the I. The future perfect active, again, is going to use the third principal part minus the I. And now instead of using the imperfect form of sum, you are going to use the future form of sum. So it's ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, and here's one exception. Instead of saying erunt, like you would in the future of sum, you're going to use erint to distinguish it from the perfect. Now on to the passive. The passive uses the fourth principal part. And for this CP, you're going to use the masculine, so us. And so you're going to use the fourth principal part, and then for the perfect, you're going to use forms of sum. So teritu sum, then s, est. Now here's a trick. When you get to the plural, you have to make the fourth principal part plural by changing the us to an I. Then it's sumus, estis, sunt. For the past perfect passive, you're again going to use the fourth principal part, but instead of using the present form of sum, you're going to use the imperfect form like you did in the active. And so eram, eros, and erat. And again, remember to change it to the us to an I when you get to the plural. Eramus, eratus, erat. And for the perfect passive, it's going to be the same for all verbs. It's going to use the fourth principal part with those forms of sum. The future perfect passive, again, fourth principal part, whatever the verb is, and then the future of sum. So ero, eris, erit. When I get to the plural, I'm turning teretus to tereti, the us to an I, and it's erimus, eritus, and I'm going to hold to the third principal part and not need to change it. And that's how you pass the perfect system.